No-code tools have opened opportunities up for innovators and especially non-technical founders. But they have their limits, and not everybody thinks that they're a great idea. Listen to this episode to learn what the no-code revolution is all about, and when no-code tools are a must-have, and when they should be avoided. Welcome to the Tech for Non-Techies podcast. I'm your host, tech entrepreneur, executive coach, and Chicago Booth MBA, Sophia Matveeva. My aim here is to help you have a great career in the digital age. In a time when even your coffee shop has an app, you simply have to speak tech. On this podcast, I share core technology concepts, help you relate them to business outcomes, and most importantly, share practical advice on what you can do to become a digital leader today. If you want to have a great career in the digital age, this podcast is for you. Hello, smart people. How are you today? I am recording this to you from Bahrain. The sun is shining, the sky is blue, and I can see the glorious Arabian Sea sparkling out of my window, and I am so excited to be here. I'm in Bahrain because I am teaching a course on entrepreneurship and no-code tools here at an accelerator, and I'm also mentoring 23 startup teams. And it's literally some of my favorite work. And because I always want to bring you along with me, I'm going to share some of the key lessons that I am teaching in my course. Today's lesson on no-code tools is obviously relevant to the founders and corporate innovators who listen to this podcast. And it is also important for investors and people who work with founders and investors, so like lawyers and bankers. The no-code revolution has really changed innovation for the early stages and for non-technical founders especially. It means that more people with ideas can enter the market and make their ideas come to life. So this means more opportunity for innovation and for investment returns. But a more active market also means more startup failures. And obviously in the microcosm, if you're leading a startup that doesn't work out, it feels terrible. But in the macro, it's a good thing because that's capitalism. And generally, people who have the chutzpah to create something once, if it doesn't work, then they basically use those lessons and create something new. So before we go into what no-code tools do, let's start what happens without no-code tools so you can see the difference. To build software products like mobile apps and websites, you have to design a prototype and then write code to make that design become a living thing that works and captures data. So you would have to have designers who are making the prototype and then testing it, and then after that you would have back-end and front-end developers writing code to make that design come alive. And this means that you have to recruit and pay highly trained professionals right from the start. And this is the process that the apps on your phone have gone through. And it's the process that I led my team through when I led my last company where we had a very successful consumer app. And today, there are tools which allow a non-technical person to build an app themselves without hiring developers, without writing code. And these tools are literally called no-code or low-code tools. And this sounds wonderful, but there are several caveats. In this lesson, I'm going to explain what no-code tools can do and when it's the right time to use them and why. I'm also going to give you some examples of tools for specific use cases. And then I'm going to tell you when not to use them and what they can't do. So first, let's begin with some definitions. What are no-code tools? They're tools that you can get online that allow you to automate a process or build a product without writing any code. I mean, this sounds pretty obvious, right? But you might not know that you're actually using no-code tools, and many of you are using no-code tools every day. So for example, if you use scheduling software like Calendly, you are using a no-code tool. Calendly builds an automation process for you. So you connect it to your calendar and then you allow people to book times to have a meeting with you. So I use Calendly. It's a wonderful tool. And in the programming world, what Calendly does is called a workflow. A workflow is basically a process to do something. So if you're non-technical and you're speaking to developers, they will talk about workflows. And you can write workflows in code, or you can get a ready-made workflow like Calendly and just adjust it to your needs. Also, if you've taken online courses, the company providing them would have probably used a no-code tool like Kajabi or Thinkific to present their course to you. And some of you might have used Wix or Squarespace to build a website for yourself or for your business. And if you want to sell products online, then Shopify is a really great no-code tool that millions of people use for e-commerce. So you see, even if you've never heard the term no-code tools, you are actually aware of what they are and what they do. Businesses that use no-code tools fall into two broad categories. Category 1 is early-stage innovation projects, and Category 2 are businesses whose primary offering isn't technology. And I'll show you why this is in both cases. So let's start with number 1. No-code tools are perfect for early-stage innovators because they allow you to test an idea without spending a lot of money upfront in it. So, for example, if the cost of developing a custom-made product is about $100,000, which, by the way, is not abnormal and is often higher, and especially if you're working with teams based in New York City or London or Silicon Valley, it's going to be way higher in Silicon Valley. Because the cost is so high, this might mean that you literally cannot even test your idea. You don't even know if what you're working on is sane or not, unless you raise money or rob a bank. And I've been watching Money Heist on Netflix, and I can tell you that learning to use no-code tools is much easier than running a heist. So if those are your two options, choose no-code tools. No-code tools will allow you to build a product and test it with just a few $100s in investment and basically a lot of elbow grease and a lot of online tutorials. But it's totally possible. I've done it, and so can you. So, for example, if you wanted to make an app, I suggest you use Bubble or Glide to make your first web app and to test demand. By the way, both of them have really good ready-made templates that you can just get for free and customize. Also, if your business's main value add to the world is not technology and customizing your website isn't super important, the no-code tools are a great option, and that's option 2 for the kinds of businesses that use no-code tools very successfully. For example, the main product of my business, Tech for Non-Techies, are education programs and executive coaching. It's a very people-oriented business. The way I add value to the world is by teaching you new concepts to help you succeed in the digital age. So as long as you get the knowledge and confidence that you need to work with tech clients or build a tech venture, I don't really care what sort of medium you get it through. Obviously, you are getting this knowledge through my podcast. Some of you have taken Tech for Non-Techies online courses. Yet others have worked with me live on Zoom, and today I'm teaching in-person classes with my students in Bahrain. So there's a lot of variability in that medium. And I don't need to make custom-made software for Tech for Non-Techies because my students, my clients, do not pay me for technology. They pay me for knowledge. And for this, the existing no-code tools are good enough. And the thing is, I actually could build custom software. I know how to build a product spec. I know how to hire the right people. I know how to test for success. Like literally, I have done this before. So it wouldn't be hard for me. But I choose not to do it because it wouldn't make strategic sense for my business. It wouldn't be a good investment of my time and my money. And sometimes I actually do think about how fun it would be to build a custom-made product just to serve my online courses, because honestly, I find product development quite fun and intellectually stimulating, and it's really cool when you come up with an idea and then people use it and you basically just feel like a creative genius. It's really fun, but it wouldn't make strategic sense for my business at this time, so I don't do it. So what I want you to see is that no-code tools are not only for broke startup founders who don't know anything about tech. No-code tools are often a very smart strategic decision for a successful business. Very large and wealthy corporates also use no-code tools for the same reason as I do. So for example, L'Oreal, the global beauty company, uses Bubble. What does L'Oreal sell? They sell skincare. They sell beauty products. I am personally a really big fan of Lancome mascara, and I really don't care if L'Oreal used custom software somewhere within their supply chain to make their wonderful mascara. Algorithms are not L'Oreal's main product. So if you work in a corporate with deep pockets and you want to try a new innovation project, my advice for you would be to use no-code tools first, test the concept, and then see if it's worth spending money on custom software and see whether that's a good strategic choice. And if not, then carry on using no-code tools. Some of them are really wonderful. The super great thing about no-code tools is that you can create something more quickly and cheaply than with traditional design and coding skills, and then to test your idea. But my dear smart people, as you already know, there is no such thing as a free lunch in this world. And no-code tools, like everything, also have their drawbacks. So drawback number one, if your main product is held on a no-code tool, your business depends on another company. So if that company shuts down, or if it has a software glitch, you will have serious problems. Also, no-code tools are not cheap for this very reason. So if your business depends on their infrastructure, they're going to make sure that you pay for it. So if you're going to use no-code tools for the long term, basically make sure that you have a business model that makes you enough money that you can carry on paying for them. Drawback number two, no-code tools are not customizable. So it's like going to buy a suit off the rack instead of going to a tailor. Yes, you can definitely get something decent off the rack. But there is a reason why tailors still exist and why the tailors on Savile Row in London charge a small fortune for a suit, even in our age of mass manufacturing. Having something tailor-made for you is just better, and it's the same for suits as it is for software. But there is a cost, and sometimes that cost doesn't make sense. And drawback number three is that investors usually don't want tech founders to scale no-code tools. Smart investors typically want founders to test their idea with no-code tools, but once the idea is formulated and tested, they do want custom software because it's going to be, custom and less risky because it's not going to be dependent on, say, Bubble. This is true for companies where having custom-made technology is central to your business, and that's definitely not the case for all startups. So, for example, if you are going to have some sort of algorithm and that algorithm is based on your specific hypothesis, then technology is central to your business case. But if you're building an e-learning company, you can build it on no-code tools and reach scale. And if you do so, then people will really want to fund you. And I speak from experience. Investors have contacted me and asked if it is possible to invest in Tech for Non-Techies because it does have a global scalable part to it. And my answer so far has been no. So I've given you some drawbacks, but the no-code revolution has some extremely fanatical fans. And I've met people who genuinely believe that Bubble is going to change the face of entrepreneurship globally. I don't think so. And in general, I think it's not a healthy attitude about any tool, no matter how good it is. When you're cooking, you want to use the right tool for the right operation. And sure, some tools are more useful than others because, for example, you can't really cook much if you don't have a knife. But just like with cooking, the success of the outcome depends on the person using the tools and not on the tools themselves. You can have a terrible chef who has used excellent tools and produced something completely inedible. It is literally the same with no-code tools. You can have great tools. You can even learn to use great tools absolutely perfectly and still create something that nobody wants. Tomorrow, I'm teaching my second session of the no-code course in Bahrain, and I'm going to tell my students to start by thinking through their concept first. Whom are you solving the problem for and why? Based on that thinking, based on also their research, I'm going to tell them to write out the features their product needs to have and then draw what the product would look like by hand on a piece of paper. This is really analog. It is not digital. So always start with analog and then move on to digital. Only once my students have done that will we move on to how to make something and then which tools to use. The tools are always secondary. Your logic, your human intuition, and your knowledge of the customer always come first. Remember, technology works for you, not the other way round. If you found today's lesson useful, then make sure to subscribe to this show and to leave this podcast a rating and a review. When you do that, you really help other smart people like you to discover my lessons and help them learn vital skills so they too can succeed in the digital age. And that would be a wonderful thing. So please do leave a rating and a review for this show and get some brownie points from the universe. So thank you very much in advance. And now that I've taught you this, I am going to go for a swim in the rooftop pool under the glorious Arabian sun. Have a fabulous day, and I shall be back in your delightful smart ears next week. Ciao!